All right, so some of the CBI programs or citizenships or passports are much better than before. And I'm talking about the citizenship by investment programs, right? Few countries, 11 countries that sell their passports in 2023. Now, in case you aren't aware what all countries sell their passports, you can return and take a look at this video. This talks about a list of all the programs that sell their citizenships and passports in 2023. Now, there are certain sweeping changes that have recently happened, and I have covered some of those changes in my previous videos. But in this video, I'm going to analyze the effect, the impact, what it means. And let's say you were waiting on the sidelines thinking that you want to buy this passport one day. So it's very important to understand these changes, how they may have improved some of these citizenship by investment programs, especially the more economical or cheaper ones, so you can make a more informed decision. What I'm also going to discuss is who this is a great option for, who I feel would benefit from these changes, and who can consider these as viable options for their future. Now, before I get started, a quick disclaimer: none of this information is legal, immigration, tax, or finance advice. This is my personal opinion and analysis on these topics. And in case you were new, I'm Jay, and here we discuss investments that lead to residencies, citizenships, and a whole lot more. So make sure you turn on the bell notification and subscribe to my channel so you're always updated on any of the latest breakthroughs within the RCBI domain. So let me give you a slight backdrop, right? What has happened? A lot of these programs run these pay for passport schemes, 100K, 150K, and you're looking at a few weeks to a few months and you become a citizen. You get a passport. So that is how these programs function. Recently, one of the most platinum brand programs obviously claims to be the leader of the pack. Very reputed program, great program. Their due diligence chief was accused of scams in the millions. Reportedly, the people who paid for these passports, the money that went in the program was allegedly invested. The monies were invested in the US, and most of the time spent in the US physically by this due diligence chief who advertised the platinum brand of product, the platinum passport. Again, these are allegations, so I don't want to comment on whether they're true or not true, but the result was that obviously the person was let go, was removed, and replaced by a new chief for due diligence who promises that the same, or rather the original platinum quality, would continue to be provided. There are two things that have drastically happened, and maybe not related, but immediately at the backdrop, there are two things that have happened with that particular program. One is the price was slashed by $25,000, so it's now more affordable, it's more cheaper, much faster, because you have a new chief in place. People might feel more secure with their capital going into that pool, right? The pool of monies that get utilized for benefit of the country. That's the first change. The second change that happened was US obviously got very involved in the matters. They met with the US officials, government officials, met with all the Caribbean heads, the PMs. They got together, and now they were able to get a lot of transparency and visibility and monitoring on these programs. There's some sweeping changes that were implemented. A couple of major ones were the auditing, right? So even if you got the passport, in future, if it is re-examined, any wrongdoing and you're straight handed over, right? So that's one of the biggest change. It is a great change because then once you have a major government watching and monitoring, things are more transparent, things are more clearer, and there's less of the bad actors playing around. So let's say you were trying to mess around with some of the rules in that country and you thought that this is a solution, this might help, but guess what? This is the exact opposite. It'll hand you over and turn you over if you planned to do anything wrong, or if you have done anything wrong in the past. So it gets a lot of clarity. Right or wrong is not the question. The laws are what they are, whether you like them, whether you feel they're incorrect. It is the legal law of the land, and if you break that and if you try to do this, then now it's obviously going to be a lot more difficult. So that is the auditing is a major change. So there's no escape. Going in the past, they can pull things up, they will pull things up, and then obviously process such people, book them to task, and put them in spot. That's the first one. The second is interview requirement in future. So initially you paid the money, you were sitting at home remotely running this, paying the money, and then eventually getting the benefit. But now the latest change will require you to record yourself either in person or via a remote video conferencing. So the information that's on your application is not just provided by the agent. It not just has your physical signatures, but now you would be recorded and monitored the way you should. So there's more, again, adding to the transparency and clarity of these programs. So I think this is a great change for squeaky clean people who obviously follow the law of the land, and it makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about what a passport or a citizenship could be used for, right? So if you're talking about banking, and again, this is not immigration, legal, or tax advice. For banking, I personally would stay clear, because the moment you flash a CBI passport, these are very reputed CBI passports. Most of the banks have been given instructions to process CBI passports in a certain way. If you have missed my coverage on how banks treat CBI passports, you can return and take a look at this video. This talks about the mechanism put in place for the tracking at banks. So if it is at the bank, and if this is the only citizenship that you have, then it makes sense. But let's say you have an original citizenship from your home country and you're trying to use this passport. Again, if you want to avoid any suspicion, then you got to take the call. I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't use it. That's your decision, because this is not banking advice. This is just the analysis, right? My analysis on this topic. So I would personally stay away from banking using these passports, right? The second is travel. Now, when you're traveling, if you have other passport, alternate passport, this is a good supplementary passport. But if you're using this as your primary passports, there could be questions as to why you're using this one, right? If there's legitimate reasons, then it's all good. But if you have another passport and you're just using this, then there could be questions, and this is normal stuff. The questions could be on any other citizenship that you have, but especially if you have two passports, you've used one in the past, using a new one, they are entitled to ask you more questions. Now, I personally would stay clear. What is this good for, right? What is this good for? Let's say some person has a couple of citizenships, right? They want to add to the numbers. Maybe they are a hobbyist or an enthusiast who wants to work on the numbers, who loves higher number of citizenships, then something like this could make a lot of sense. If you're not associated with the Western countries, let's say you're coming from a very tier C passport country, the passport literally has 60 to 70 countries only, then for travel purposes, if you're going to lose your home country citizenship and you're going to rely on this passport, and this is genuinely the only option that you have, then this could be a good option for you to consider. Again, no advice, it could be a good option as long as you're working on some future options which can then add more plan B security to your portfolio. And I'm not suggesting these are temporary throwaway options. These are decent options that may work for certain type of people. Now, what are some of the heavyweight genuine citizenships or options that one can consider to pursue in future life? Number one is Mauritius. It's one of the best residencies and citizenships and passports in the Africas. I work with one of the strongest agencies in Mauritius that does this processing. If you're interested, click the link in the description, book a call with us. We can hook you up with the right legal expert and get you started. There's also South Africa. In the Africa is an amazing plan B option. It's a great passport. Obviously, the Mauritian residencies makes more sense if you're going to physically spend your time there. Otherwise, you also have South Africa, which is much more on the budget. $6,800 can get you a South African permanent residency, a very flexible permanent residency that can then lead to your all-important South African citizenship, if that is what you want. If you want to learn more about this process, how it works, you can return and check this video. This covers the entire South African option in a lot of detail. And then finally, everyone's favorite, my personal favorite, a great citizenship, a great option. Again, no recommendation, but a great option is Mexico. One of the most awesome places to live. I personally feel it's very safe. I have recorded my entire journey. I work with some of the best legal experts in different parts of Mexico. If you've missed my all-important coverage on the Mexican option, you can return and take a look at this video. I discussed this with my attorney, some of the pitfalls that you should be aware of, talk about the citizenship, how difficult or how easy it is as compared to some of the other Latin countries. A lot of the other Latin countries are good for residency, but when it comes to giving you the passport, when it comes to doing the citizenship, the process gets very bureaucratic. So it sounds like 2 years or 3 years, but in reality, you could be sitting years and years and years, could be a decade-long wait. Again, all depends. But with Mexico, I've discussed the process and the ease with my attorney, so make sure you don't miss out on that video. All right, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subbed, and catch you in the next one.